Hello programmers. So this video is actually the code implementation of constructor injection which we have seen in the last lecture. So as we know, constructor injection actually need three basic steps, okay? Where the first step is you need to create dependency interface and its implementation class, okay? Second one is you have to create reference of the dependency wherever you want it, okay? And then you need to create a constructor for it as well, through which you will initialize it. And the third and most important thing is you have to configure the dependency. Okay, so inside the application context.xml file, you have to configure the dependency. Okay, so these are the three simple steps which you have to do in order to do a constructor dependency injection. So this project we have already created in the previous lecture. Okay, so it covered all of the topic like what is Spring Container is, application context, how to create a simple Spring project and all. So as I have already gave you a high level idea what would be the steps for constructor injection. So let's go ahead with the step. Okay. So as we have discussed, the first step is we have to create a dependency interface and its implementation class. So as we already know, our dependency is in the last lecture I have given that theory, given that thing. Okay. So our dependency interface will be code service. So code service, it's our interface. So we need to declare a method here. So the method is public and I want a string out of it. So public string, and let's give it a name, get quotes, simple. Okay, so this is my simple interface. So this is the dependency interface. Second thing is I want a implementation of this interface. Okay, so I will give it a name like maybe motivational code service. Okay, so motivational code service, and I need to add an interface. Okay, because I need to implement an interface, that is code service. Let me give it here. Yeah, so I will select it here and click on OK. So it will add this service, it will add this interface here and it will implement it. So my class motivational code service will implement this code service. Okay, now I need to write a simple code. It could be anything. So let me write a beautiful code that is if there is no struggle, then there is no progress. So if there is no struggle, there is no progress. So this is one of the code which this method will give. Okay, this will return this simple string. So now we are all okay with the first step, that is creating a dependency interface and its implementation class. Now the second step is we need to go through the implementation class of engineer and we need to create this dependency. Okay, because now this code service is a dependency, so we need to declare it here. We need to declare a reference of that dependency here. Okay, so this is the second step. So we need to do this public and we need to create a reference of our dependency. So our dependency is code service. I'm creating a reference of it. So code service. Okay, so I've created dependency reference. Okay, I've created the reference of this dependency. Second, as we are going through constructor injection, okay, so we need a constructor here. Okay, so we need to create a constructor. So I will go ahead, I will create a constructor of this electrical engineer here. So public electrical engineer, this is the constructor, but through this constructor we have to initialize this code service. So that's why we need a parameterized constructor, as we have covered in the last video. Okay, so I will give this argument here and then I will do a simple thing, this dot code service equals to this code service. Okay, so now whatever will come as an argument in this code service, it will initialize this reference here. Okay, using the argument. So I've written this and we have to do this same. Okay, so I have written it here. Now as we need to invoke that gate quotes method as well, because inside this quote service, okay, inside this quote service we have this gate quotes method. Okay, we have this gate quotes method which will return this statement. So inside this electrical engineer I also need to call that method, that same gate quotes method. Okay, so for that what I will do, I will go I will first go inside my interface, that is engineer, and here I will write one method, that is, let's say, get quotes. By calling quote service. You can give any name. I'm just trying to give a meaningful name. It's little lengthy, but don't worry. So as I have created a new method inside a interface, so we need to implement it into all of the implementation class. Okay, so that's what I'm doing. I will go through this electrical engineer as well. I will implement it. It's giving a default implementation. Okay, so I'm doing it. So that is what we have done until now. I have created a reference of a dependency. I have created a constructor, a parameterized constructor, which will take quote service as an argument and initialize through it. And the third thing is, now I have created a method which will actually internally calls the gate quotes method of quote service. Okay, so I have created a separate method here. Now what I need to do, I will again go to this electrical engineer class. Okay, and here what I will do, I will call the method. Okay, so I will call the gate quotes method inside of this quote service. So gate quotes. Okay, so this is what we have to implement, and we have to write the same thing into all of the implementation class. Okay, because we need to invoke it, because so that we can use it into any of the engineer class. Okay, so I'm copying the same statement. Okay, first the dependency reference, then the constructor, and then a new method inside of which I will call this gate quotes method, so that I will get that quote. Okay, I will get that motivational quote. So that's why I'm copying the same thing into other engineers as well, because they also need the motives. Okay, so they also need it. So this is okay, so this constructor needs to be of civil engineer, so I'm doing it here as well. And now inside this gate quotes I need to call the gate quotes method. I have again done the same, and then I will come to this engineer implementation class. I need to paste that same thing which is here. So this same reference and constructor. So I will do this here. I don't want this civil engineer, because this is software engineers constructor. So I've created so now we have this dependency reference and this constructor, parameterized constructor. Now we have to again call this quote service. So quote service dot get quotes method. Okay, so this was our second step. Okay, so what was the second step? Second step was to create a dependency reference and a parameterized constructor. Okay, so I've created a dependency reference and a parameterized constructor, and as we need to call this gate quotes method of quote service, so I have created a new method. Okay, which is there in all of the implementation class. So I have done the same thing, all of these three things only in all of the implementation class. Okay, so that we can call it from any of the implementation class. So so now we are done with the second step. Now the third step is the actual step. Okay, which is inside, like, we have to configure this whole pin and dependency injection inside this application context.xml. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is, okay, let us go through step by step. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here, that we need to define dependency bean. Okay, so dependency bean, first we need to define a dependency bean, and in this engineer, inside this engineer, we need to do a constructor injection. Okay, so here we need to write a code for a configuration for constructor injection. Okay, so this is what we need to do, only these 2 points. So first, as we are saying, we have to define a dependency bean. So now our dependency bean will be what? First I will write this bean, and I need bean with ID. ID is here, let's say quartz. Okay, so quartz is our ID. Now I need to give a class, a implementation class for it. So class equals to, and in class we have to give this whole, like this full qualified name. Okay, fully qualified name. So this path is actually same for all of these classes. So I will write this same thing. I will copy this thing, copy com.programwin.ioc, and then the name of the implementation class. Okay, so now my dependency implementation is what? Motivational code service. Okay, so I have to write this same. So motivational code service. Got it? And we don't need this pair of bean tag. Okay, so I will write this simple slash here. Now, so now we have this bean of our dependency. Okay, our dependency bean has been defined here. Now we need to do a constructor injection configuration. So for that, what I need this pair of bean. Okay, because inside this bean tag, inside this pair of bean tag, I will configure this constructor injection. Okay, so here I have to put the code for constructor injection. So what is there? What's the tag I need to write? So I need to write this constructor arg. Okay, and inside this constructor arg, we have one attribute, that is, the name of it is what? Ref. So now my constructor arg, whenever I'm creating this bean, if I have any constructor argument, then refer this bean. Okay, so that it will inject this bean. So which bean I wanna inject here? That is this quartz. Okay, so that's why I need to give the same thing quartz here. And as I don't need this pair, so I can remove these, and I only need to write a slash here. Okay, so it's all looking good. So we are done with the third step as well. What was the third step? I have to define a dependency bean, and then I also need to inject that dependency. Okay, I have to inject it through constructor. So for that, I need to write this constructor -arg, and I have to refer that dependency bean. Got it? So I will save this thing as well, and then I will go to my main app where I have this main method, and I'm actually loading this Spring container, and I'm getting those beans. So now I have, as I have written this code earlier, where I was creating the bean of it, like I was creating the bean of this engineer. So if I go to this engineer is actually returning a object of type electrical engineer. But now what's new here? We have one dependency inside this electrical engineer. Okay, so if I go to this electrical engineer class, I have one dependency, that is code service, and it's getting injected, it's getting initialized through this constructor, through this parameterized constructor. So that's why we have written this statement here, where that parameterized constructor will use this object to initialize its dependency. Okay, simple. So, and now, as we also need to know the code as well. Okay, what's my code? How will I get motivated? So that's where I will invoke code service method. And to invoke this code service method, what we have done, we have created a new method inside this engineer. And what is it? So let me write, as that method is returning a string, so I need to write a println statement so that I can print that string. And now I have this eng, a reference of engineer. So eng dot, I will use this method, get quartz by calling quartz service. So what it will do, it will internally call the get quotes method of quote service. Okay, so now I will save it and I have to only run this class here. So let's right click on it, run as, and run as Java application. So yeah, we got it. We got like the first thing is, the first output is the work. Okay, whatever work has been given. So if I go to this electrical engineer, the work is design and implement electrical system. So that's what we have got. And as we have injected a object of motivational quote service, so what's happening, it's internally calling a get quotes method of motivational quote service. Okay, and if I go to motivational quote service, it's saying if there is no struggle, there is no progress. Okay, so we are getting the same. So I think we are good here. We have implemented this whole concept here. We have this engineer, and we have also like injected its dependency, that is constructor injection. Okay, so we have injected the dependency, this quote service dependency, through constructor, and we are now getting the output, the desired output. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching the video. Have a nice day.